And so I want to welcome folks who are here for our Volunteer of the Month Awards and our One Albuquerque Award. And this is a tradition that we started, it was probably right before the pandemic. And pretty obvious reasons in a sense that, look, we just want to take time out just to reflect on some folks who've been doing some amazing things at the city. And sometimes they're city workers, sometimes they're not. And then, of course, on the volunteer side, there are folks who are volunteering in that capacity. And so we just want to take a moment to share their story and to honor what they've done for our community. So we want to talk first about our One Albuquerque Award. And we have not had someone from animal welfare, I think, in quite some time. So we're especially honored today to recognize Sergeant Raymond Candelaria. And he's an animal welfare officer. And, part of the job, I did a ride-along once upon a time, actually, with animal welfare a couple of years ago. And it was really fascinating because a lot of people don't really know the sort of sides of this role. On one hand, you do often have to deal with dangerous animals. That's why they're called out. That's why they're animal welfare officers. But also, lots of the time, you're trying to provide care for these wonderful pets who are near and dear to all our hearts. And so neighbors in the neighborhood that you particularly worked with, they found a few dogs whose behavior made it scary to walk down the street. And we'll hear kind of your side of the story in just a minute on this. But as I understand it, the dogs themselves were actually not in the best condition, and they'd been left alone for long stretches of time, and they needed some help. And so Sergeant Candelaria, he didn't do the sort of minimum of just sort of dealing with the situation, but he prioritized humane treatment of animals, and that's something that we always want to do. And so he brought dog houses so they wouldn't be stuck outside in the rough weather, and toys so they could play, and also worked with the neighborhood to document the situation, which is also very important to find the best resolution going forward. And so we want to really acknowledge that is, not just doing your job, but doing it really well and going above and beyond the call of duty. So, Sergeant, we'd love to hear a few words from you or your nominator, and we want to say congratulations and thank you. Yeah. So let's give him a round of applause. What? You don't have to if you don't want to. It's up to you, but there's a certificate for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we got a little pin for you, too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Like you out there.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, you want to share a few words?
Well, I guess I can.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Again, I'm Sergeant Candelaria, Albuquerque Animal Welfare. First of all, I'd like to thank all the officers, the staff, our director, everybody involved here. We've had some rough times, to say the least. Staffing, it's been rough, COVID. But Director Ortega, she kept it together, kept us together, and we kept plugging away. This particular incident is in a neighborhood. They've been complaining about barking dogs. When they weren't barking, they were getting out, chasing the neighbors. A lot of elderly people here, so they were walking with their walkers, and the dogs would attack them. So we finally got called out there several times, and we could never catch the dogs out. Just as we get there, sure enough, the owners would take them in. The fences were secure, the owners were doing their best, but they just worked all the time. So animals need attention. And that we started there, and they started documenting the barking and all that. This started last year in September. So we just got, a resolution lately. So they attacked a neighbor. He fought him off with a shovel. We ended up deeming the dogs potentially dangerous. So with that, we've just kind of used our system. They appealed it. We did everything we could, and it just comes finally the owner realized she just didn't have the time for the dogs. So best case scenario, owner surrendered them. We're going to be finding homes for the dogs. So that's all with this case. So to me, it's just a regular day at work. So I never expect anything like this. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, too. Well, thanks so much for sharing that, Sergeant. And also, of course, credit to, I know we have lots of animal welfare staff here, and it's been, it was a rebuilding effort, and then COVID hit, and then, so now it's more rebuilding. But the department continues to move forward, and so we appreciate everyone sticking it out and continuing to improve each day. Now, we want to shift gears a little bit to our Volunteers of the Month, and we have sort of a unique presentation today, in part because we have, I think, sort of one primary representative of the board here in person. But we want to acknowledge an actual board, the Public Art Board, and the work that they do. And somewhat fitting that we're in this refurbished conference room with no art. Because it used to have a bunch of art from Public Art, and of course they are working on sort of decorating the area. That's just a really sort of, for those of us who are in person, that example is nothing compared to what they do every day throughout the city. So our Public Arts Board, which of course are their volunteers, they do so much work all over our city, and everyone tells me when they walk into a city building or they see some of our public art that's outdoors, they're like, wow, Albuquerque does such an amazing job with our artwork. And there's a reason for that. It's because of the hard work of the department under Sherry Brueggemann and also the hard work of the Public Arts Board. And so to give you an example, just over the past 2 years, this board and city staff have rolled out 13 public art projects and approved 159 artists. And for the artists who are aware of this too, public art is one of the main ways in which artists are able to earn important income as well. We believe in paying artists for their work. And that's an important statement with respect to how much we feel the creative economy is important, and also the profession of being an artist can be and should be a full-time profession. And so we try and make the economics sort of enable that in a big way, and with which we do that is our public arts program. So it has a financial impact of about $500,000 a year in our creative economy. And also, as I think the only mayor in the country who was an art history major, I also love it and meddle way too much in, what pictures go up on the walls, only in this office, of course. But that is something that is truly special. And I will say that those of you who are going to even walk around, whether it's City Hall or our community centers or our libraries, it's the work of this program most of the time. Sometimes there's some museum work involved. But it's just an amazing reflection of our community, our creative economy, and of course that actual artwork is often a reflection of who we are, our cultural heritage, and also the natural beauty around us. So thank you so much to the Arts Board. Congratulations to all Arts Board members. I know we have a few on the screen and so forth. Let's give them a round of applause. And Emily, it's good to see you. If you want to come up and share a few words on behalf of the board, we'd love that. And we're going to send you your certificates, of course, but we'll give Emily hers. Yeah, come on up.
So I was a fellow art historian
Whoa,
who worked in museums, and I loved when I heard that you have an art history background, and actually went to St. Mary's of Notre Dame, so I was right across the street from Notre Dame. But I never dreamed I would end up the chair of the Public Art Board in Albuquerque, my hometown. It's been an honor to do this job. We have 9 folks from the districts and then 2 at large, so a board of 11. And everyone is in some way, shape, or form an expert in the arts and brings a diversity of opinions and ideas to what we should see on the streets of Albuquerque, in our libraries, community centers, parks, etc. So our mission is obviously to put great art out there in the world so that people don't have to go to a museum necessarily to see it, that it's part of the civic life of our city. But also those commissions that we do from the local artists here in Albuquerque, they build their careers. It's a huge deal to have a piece of art in a public art collection. They can go on to put other art in other public collections around the country. They can put it on their resume. It's part of building their profile and leveling up their career. And we're also starting to use public art for things like public safety, for traffic calming measures, and for especially slowing down traffic in certain parts of the city where pedestrian fatalities have been really high. So I'm loving seeing all this impact that we can have, love that we were able to keep the impact up during the pandemic, and it's an honor to live in a city that prioritizes art. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Well, thank you again to those members, and I'm going to try and read their names just in case, for folks who kind of were watching and tuned in, but not all of them, again, are here in person. But Jessica Montoya Cage and Woody Duncan, Pamela Chavez, Christopher McQueen, and of course Emily, who we just met, and Charlotte Schoenman, Dorothy Sternmer, and Dr. Bernadette Hernandez and Luann Bird. So thank you all to those. Those are the current folks, and also, we should also give credit to the many members who've served beforehand too. So one last round of applause for all of them. All right, well, with that, I just want to say thank you for those who are tuning in, and most importantly, thank you to our animal welfare team, and to the sergeant, and to our arts board, and of course the staff that supports both of you. And we'll continue to do this. We roughly do this about once a month. Sometimes it's every 6 weeks. And we want to also encourage nominations. So you can just Google the One Albuquerque Award and submit nominations there, or the Albuquerque Volunteers Board. And again, all of this is online, easy to find with a quick search. And thank you so much for all you do to help Albuquerque. Thank you.